spree. Why is Lauren Southern going on a blocking spree? Because she done been found out. She's
Yeah.
a single mother. She's hitting the wall,
Yeah,
whatever.
she like Me Too'd everybody and then like did the video on her ex-boyfriend. And so people
and
are
the men
figuring
aren't
out it's
buying,
like full of shit. Yeah. Yeah.
and the men aren't buying anymore. And so there's this parable that Joel and I like to talk about. By the way, we have a channel, guys. It's Western Culture Through God's Eye. Pearl will tell you guys about it in
Yeah,
the
I
future.
found it. It's actually I loved your video on women's purpose should be a man, not children. I never thought about it that way, but I was like, that is so
Yeah,
true because women that have children with men and don't make the man their purpose, they hate the man, and so a lot of times they hate the kids too. So it's like I was like,
yeah,
it's actually more important for a girl to be with a guy that she loves than the kids, because if you don't, it's like I mean, these women resent their children. They're like mad that they're there.
absolutely, absolutely, and it wreaks havoc on it wreaks havoc on your immediate family, but sin or crime, as we would have it, hurts people. It's like a ripple effect. It hurts everybody. It hurts the person your child will interact with and the person that that person will interact with. So it's really, a lot of the red pillars are, that's why we're so looking forward to have a
Mm-hmm.
sit down with you, because a lot of the stuff that people talk about that they think they're being really meta about,
Mm-hmm.
they're actually being really shallow about, you know. There's a difference between being based, which is being brutally honest
Mm-hmm.
and straightforward, and being basic. And being basic is being very animalistic and like resolved into your animal side. And we're really called to be more like angels. Like we have devices that animals don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And women are not good at navigating those devices, which is why we need men so desperately. Like we are lower down on the chain, right? You always say this: God, men, women, children, and below children is animals. So it's just like women are actually more animalistic than men. Women like to say that men are the animalistic ones. Oh, he's just an animal. Oh,
Right.
he's just
It's all
right.
projection. It's all
It is
projection. Yeah.
100%. But it's because women are the animalistic ones. And so when if for the men watching this, to reveal a woman's rage, you have to have the conversation on submission early on. Like you can't wait. You can build chemistry, right? You can have some, you build a connection, of course, but you can't wait too long to have the conversation on submission, because she can't hide her true colors when you talk about submission. She will either lash out, or she will be like, "Oh wow, like what do you expect of me then?" Because when I grew up, I never heard of submission spoken about in a favorable light. Of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was, oh, you're going to be a slave. Oh, you're going to be a lesser than. Well, guess what? I am lesser than. I have a smaller body. I have smaller muscles. I have a smaller frame. I'm entirely at this man's mercy. I have a smaller brain. That's another thing. Women like to say, oh, the men are just bigger. They're just stronger than us. Well, if they're bigger, they have bigger bones and they have bigger muscles.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bigger brain, lady. Sorry to break it to you. They have bigger brains. Okay. And if their brain is superior, that means your brain is inferior. And so the only women who get offended are the women who are being revealed, who are being found out. And so they just kind of want to smack it out of you, say, stop shining the light on me. I don't want to be found out. I don't want to be seen. But this is part of female nature that we need to work on. It's the hanging on to qualities that we identify with very heavily but aren't actually healthy. So what women don't realize is that they think that men don't want them when they're older because they're less hot, but it's not even about the look so much.
Some
Men are so gracious.
Yeah, some guys say they can't even tell the difference. I mean, they can, but like, yeah, I mean, they're not that picky. It's not
I
even
mean, women
about
are
that.
indoors more than ever. You got the Botox, you got the thing. Women look
Yeah.
better now than they did for a long time. It's not about the look so much for the guy, it's about being moldable. And when you are set in your ways for so long and you're stuck and you're settled into this ideology, then it is harder to correct yourself. Joel and I got married when I was 27, and I think I practice a little better introspection than most. Not great. I made my mistake. I took my L's, my fair share of L's too, right? But now I realize, like, oh, I am like, if I'm ever feel myself like trying to defend myself or something like that, I'm like, wow, I'm really like, this person loves me. Women don't know how to receive love,
Mhm.
right? Because they're told they constantly have to defend themselves or something. So they don't know the art of just letting go and allowing themselves to mold to a man. They think that they're a separate entity from their husband. Oh no, you do your ish, you do your shit, and I do my shit. Sorry, I'm so PC sometimes, YouTube, but whatever.
You're fine.
You do your shit, I do my shit. We're two separate entities. Like, I have my identity, you have your identity, but you really, it's beholden on the woman to let go of her identity so the man's identity can become what it was always meant to be, and she can mold to him, and together they can achieve his purpose, which, our prerogative is God's purpose.
Mhm.
But that, regardless of what that may be, financially, passionately, entrepreneurially, that's the woman's thing. And so they don't want to let a piece of themselves die so that it can be reborn into the man's shadow,
Mhm.
right? Because women are constantly, they're very covetous, right? It's always the art of overcompensation for women. So that is why women are so angry, because they're trying so hard to appropriate men. They're trying so hard to overcompensate, and they're still not managing to do the job.
You know what's funny? I came to a lot of these conclusions not at all through a religious point of view. Like,
Hmm.
but I found that a lot of the conclusions I come to, even people of different faiths, if they're really into the scripture, they actually agree with me. But it's funny because I came to a lot, even the lesser than, I was just like, how can we look at Elon Musk and Kim Kardashian and not think that like we can't do what they do? I'm like, all we have is sex workers, guys. This is sad. And I'm
It's
like,
become mainstream. Yeah. Go ahead. Go on.
yeah, and so no, it's funny when I get because I know you and your husband like you have the religious background. Like I watched one of your streams a while ago, and he was like talking about all this like religious text that's super in depth. It was super interesting. It's how I found you guys, and yeah, I was like, wow, they have all the same beliefs in a way. But I came to it like not from a religious like point of view is the funny thing. I think a lot of these beliefs you can literally just come to from like looking at the world.
It's nature.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Um, the creator's design, his laws are entwined in his design. You can't separate the two. And what people don't realize is that feminism is a religion. It's a religion. It's a religion that supersedes any other religion. It's a religion that suffocates any other ideology that you profess to claim underneath it. It doesn't let anything else grow beneath it.
Mhm.
You can't be a feminist Jew or a feminist Christian or a feminist whatever. If you're a feminist, every ideology has to fit in that paradigm, because that's the ruling. And that's honestly the religion of the West right now. People say, I'm not religious, I'm an atheist. Okay, that's your religion then. Oh, I'm not religious, I'm an evolutionist. That's your religion. Then everything is a religion. Religion just means a set of beliefs that you hold yourself to.
Even feminism, I was thinking it's almost the most demonic one because it inverts the natural order. Like that's what it's doing. It's putting women on top of men. And it's like we're all playing pretend. Even I was thinking about LinkedIn, those like boss women on LinkedIn. I'm like, there's no way these bitches are having profitable companies. Because
No, they have.
seriously, I would have been bankrupt like a year ago if I didn't have my dad to help me because I was so bad with like the I don't know, just like managing money and like managing
Mhm.
people. Like, I was really lucky where my brothers like helped me. And there's no way. So I'm like, there is no way these women could keep like a 300-person company organized. I'm like, I can barely do five. Like, you know what I mean?
Bankruptcy is a totally Western manufactured thing. When you think about it, like,
Mhm.
what is bankruptcy? Bank, scripture has a way, had its own way, like after 7 years all debts are settled, but this was like to one person. Bankruptcy is something so many women rely on. I know women who have just like stacked up endless credit cards knowing that they're about to claim bankruptcy. They're like, oh, I'm about to claim bankruptcy, I'm just going to claim as much debt as I can. And
Wait,
here we are with.
I don't even know what that is. I guess I said the word, but like you can just get rid of debt when you go bankrupt. Is that how it works?
There are certain types of bankruptcies in the West, but women, yeah, you called it out, they're much more likely to file for bankruptcy because of their really poor money management skills. And so, what happens, I think, if it's anything other than a college loan, which whatever, Biden now, so now people don't have to pay for their stupid degrees, but like if you have like a credit card loan, or like endless credit card loans or car loans, that's a big one for a lot of people, or
Oh my
house loan,
gosh. My
not house loan.
roommate, oh my gosh, my roommate after college, we both graduated. She freaking she got this super she was bitching to me about paying rent and she got this like super nice like new car out of college. I'm like, "Why? For what? Your old car worked." Like it wasn't even like she needed. I mean, I liked her, nice girl, but I'm like, how are you going to cry to me about money when you're driving like a new Mercedes or whatever it was?"
Yeah, again, it's very basic. It's very animalistic. Basic is synonymous with animal. It's very low level thinking. It's very superficial. And what do you know? That's what girls look at first thing. How much money does a guy have? So they think, oh, if I'm rich, then a guy would want me. But of course, men don't care about how much money you have. But women don't care about what men want because they don't give a shit about men. Unfortunately, they just, women in the West, like you said, their entire religion revolves around the female deity. They deify themselves. And there's a, we make a promotion on our channel for goddess worship. And I really think you should watch the documentary we direct you to,
Mhm.
because that will be very revelatory.
Mhm.
But yeah, everything you said is pointing the hell on the head, hitting the nail on the head. But yeah, so women just don't like being found out. They have like an anaphylactic reaction. They have a visceral, physical reaction of defending whatever foundation they're on rather than letting it fall and rebuilding it.
Mhm.
Because us women, we're constantly in the process of rebuilding ourselves and remolding ourselves, particularly to the man we're with. And the longer you wait to marry, this is why marrying young is so important. Oh my gosh, what was that guy? What was the name of that guy again you had who was like the 70s older guy who was like
Oh,
Jeffries?
Jeffries. Yeah, Ross
Oh
Jeffries.
my god.
Yeah, I had to bite my tongue a lot. I was not in the mood.
Oh my, again,
Yeah.
you're so gracious. That man was a fucking idiot. That man is the enemy, people. That guy was the enemy. That man was the man from the 70s who started the sexual revolution,
Mm.
who philosophers are creeps, guys. Philosophers are people who philosophize into your brain and then they've managed to philosophize you into bed. That man, that man had so many things wrong. It was just outrageous. You were so gracious and patient with him, but it was really difficult because look, if you have to say you're not a feminist, like I don't have to go around saying, "Oh, I'm not a feminist."
Mhm.
Oh, these are my opinions, but oh, I'm not a feminist.
Right.
Like you don't have to go online and say I'm not a feminist. It's very fucking clear you're not a
Well,
feminist.
I think
You know,
even feminists, like the I'm not a feminist, like most of the trad women are feminists. And it's
100%.
because they play this like cosplay with like the baking and like the but to me anyways, when I think about like the women that are the most feminine, it really doesn't have anything to do with the dresses. It has to do with serving their family. Like probably the
Hmm.
most feminine woman I know. I never saw her in makeup. She kind of looked homeless half the time, but shit, she worked her ass off to make sure her boys were raised right, like fed. She listened, like, and I remember growing up, people thought she was kind of weird because her husband, like, it was like whatever he said goes. And even from a more conservative community, I wouldn't say that's the norm. And that's like, I came from like some people call it MAGA country. And even like I don't even think in conservative communities it's the norm. Like when I think of femininity, it's serving your family and listening to your husband. That's what I think of. But a lot of these trads, it's like the look, but not the character.
Yeah. Pierce Morgan brought you on and he was like, "Look, Pearl, what do you think of this trad girl?" And it was like that blonde girl
Oh
who's
yeah.
like
Well,
shoving her boobs in
I
all
don't
the
know
time.
her, so I'm like, she was.
Yeah,
I
it's
liked
like,
her though, but you
I
know.
mean, she's got the aesthetic, but it's not, but it was about her.
Mhm.
It was about her.
Mhm.
And our entire way of life is thanks to men. And men are like the most disenfranchised group of people in our country right now. 40,000 of them are taking their own life. How horrible does your life have to be where you think there's no better option for you than to, like, if anybody has ever experienced like those types of thoughts, it's a horrible place to be in. It's dark. And women, because they're never alone, they don't know what it's like to go through something like that. And the entitlement is just, they've never put themselves in men's shoes when men are constantly trying to understand how women think, constantly trying to put themselves in women's shoes. How can I be more gracious or understanding or yada yada yada? And because our entire way of life is dependent on men's well-being and the prosperity of men's communities, we really need to take the spotlight off of ourselves. And the covetous spirit, women have always coveted men because they are the superior vessel. They're always power hungry because we have no power. We are entirely at men's mercy. So these are terms that women have vacated from their vocabulary because they're so boastful and proud. And that's why they're so angry, because men haven't put them in their place. They're angry because they say, you should know me, but you know what they say in the Bible? They say Eve ate the apple, but Adam should have stopped Eve.
Oh, that's the most annoying thing. Do we have agency or do we not have agency?
Exactly. Are we children? Are we children? Or are we more than children? Can we make choices and be held accountable for those choices?
Mhm.
Or we are totally incapable of making choices and therefore need to be supervised and looked after every step of the way. So the reason women are angry is because they shot themselves in the foot. They done did hit the wall, like Lauren Southern, and they didn't have the men. They say they don't want the man to correct them, but the reality is, women's psychology, ladies, we really need to work on this sociopathy. Just relax. Just fix that little wrinkle in your eyebrow. Just relax and let the man direct you, and things will be so much stressful. You don't have to fight for control. Like, let go of the rope, and things will work out for you better, for him better. But they want the men to correct them, but they say that they don't want the men to correct them because they're told you're oppressed, because they're told you're this, you're that. So they're angry because they weren't controlled. They're angry because they weren't controlled. Women say, you're so controlling. I don't like to be controlled. It's not that you don't like control, it's that you don't like when he's in control. You want to be in control. Somebody's got to always be in control. So if he's not in control, then you're in control, bitch. And guess what? You hate that. You hate that. And that's why you're angry, because he tried to control you. You said no. He didn't fight for me. There are memes now that are saying the guy's like, hey, want to go on a date? And she's like, no. And he's like, hey, thanks, bye. And she's like, why didn't he fight for me? Like, the guys are done playing your games.
They're done.
They're done.
The simp bubble is popping. It is, yeah.
And so that's why they're angry. They're angry because because they got what they wanted. The women are mad.
That's a great answer. You give a woman everything you want, then we get angry.
Yeah, I made a post the other day, and it's like, guys, the more she expects, the less she deserves.
And that's the problem too, is there's a lot of female dating advice that says to, make men chase you, to demand princess treatment. And I think where it gets confusing is it does work, but it's on men who don't understand women, and you will always hate those men. Like, it works on the simps, and you're never gonna like a simp. The way that we fall in love is by doing things for men. Like, that's how we fall in love. It's not the man worshiping us.
Joel put me on a curriculum right away. He said, you watch these videos and get back to me when you did that. I was like, oh my goodness, somebody's actually expecting something out of me. This is outrageous. Nobody's ever expected anything out of me.
Did he make you not a feminist, or were you like not?
Yeah, he made me not a feminist. I actually voted for Trump for the first time in 2020, shortly before I met him. But I had to, but yeah, I was still a feminist, totally. And, we could go into depth on that another
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Like, you know, there's you should really watch that documentary. I think you'll find it
Yeah, you
fascinating.
should DM it. Do I follow you on X? I don't know if I do or
I
not,
don't think
but
so.
well, DM
Hebrew
me.
wifey, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I will. I'll send it to you.
I'll look for it. Send me the link.
Yeah, I think you'll find it very enlightening. The sensuality, that's what our culture, talked about chivalry the other day.
Hmm.
And we noticed that amongst men, it, the gayness, it's just like crazy. It's an overly sensual culture right now. The thanks, the in the church, you got to have the music, and you got to be really sensitive with the way you talk, and like just be
Oh
so
gosh, the church
understand.
is.
It's just like it's everything is overly sensual,
I couldn't.
overly
I
sensual.
couldn't figure out why. And when I found the red pill on church, I actually I figured it out from Glenn Lawrence. He came with me to the Michael Knowles interview. He's been on a couple podcasts, and
Oh
freaking
yeah, Glenn.
yeah. And when he explained to me like the feminism in the church, I was like, that's why. I could never articulate like what I thought was so like off in the church. I just knew something was off and I couldn't figure out what it was. And when he articulated that, like oh my gosh, when he like the mutual submission, the Eve thing, like
Yeah,
all of that feminist jargon that's in the church, I was like, "Oh, that's why." Like cuz I don't know, it's like a feeling you get when it's just bullshit, but you can't explain why. And I found because I went
yeah,
to a Catholic school for like ever, and then I went to a Protestant church for a couple years. But I was like, why are they talking about BLM here? Like what is that? Because it was during the whole George Floyd thing. I'm like, why? And the people were super nice in the church. Like it's nothing against them, but I was like, something's off, and I could never articulate what it was. And when I found
yeah,
Glenn, I was like, thank you. I could
yeah.
never. Yeah, thank you.
So what it is it's Gnosticism. It's actually not a biblical faith.
Mm,
What has infiltrated the church?
mm,
It's a Gnostic religion, which is goddess worship, which is feminine female deification, and it infiltrates in a lot of different manners. It's got a lot of different faces, and that's why it's so hard to pinpoint. And again, guys, uh, Western culture through God's eyes is Joel's and my channel, and under the video goddess worship. And I don't want to overtalk too much
mm,
because I've gleaned all of my wisdom from Joel,
mm,
and he saved my life in more ways than one. Really, like gave me so much meaning and understanding and just grounding. And
mm.
I really want to give him an opportunity to talk in the future. But men should really watch the video he made on game, because it shows men how to navigate the internet where men are meeting women now, and how to posture them, because that's what you have to do with women. They're constantly shit testing you,
Mhm.
and you need to posture them. You need to they challenge you to see if you can dominate them. And that this is like it's a constant thing with women, but as you dominate them more and more, they do it less, and they want you to dominate them. And that's why women are angry too, because they haven't been dominated. They haven't been dominated in the church. They're angry as hell in the church.
Oh god, they're worse. I prefer
you
the
know,
OnlyFans whores to church women. I swear to God.
these Christian women are insufferable.
They're
Insufferable.
and they do it. No, it's worse because they do it under the guise of Jesus. Oh my gosh, I will take an OF chick who's just honest. She's like, "Yep, I'm a
Yeah,
whore,"
it's two-facedness. And again, that's Gnosticism. It's a two-faced side. And so they call it churchianity, Christianity. They call it whatever you like. Whatever you like, they'll call it that. But what it is Gnosticism. It's goddess worship. And that's the religion of the West right now. And the reality is that when you go to war, this is a war. And people are like, oh, just we're like at peacetime. We're at a war right now. Unfortunately, it's an ideological war, and you have to ideologically battle. And a lot of women, when you ideologically dominate them, they lash out physically. and they're going to be have to dominate it physically, and a lot of them want that too because, like I said, they're animalistic. Women are more animalistic than men. Sure, men have animalistic tendencies too. The men's side of animalistic behavior is promiscuity, being promiscuous, but they have that superior intellect that can control it. For women, the animalistic side is being hypergamous.
Well, you see it with all these teachers screwing the students, these women. It's like they
Yeah.
put them by a 16-year-old jock, they go crazy. The men are smart enough, they won't even teach. They're like, if I could go to jail for that, I'm not even stepping foot in this. I spoke to a really he was a really talented producer, and he was producing one of the songs I'm writing, and he told me that he was going to be a teacher at a school, and one of the women that was like young hit on him, like she was like
Mhm.
15 16 years old, and she hit on him. He said he quit that same day. He was like, I am not doing this. I'm not going to jail. But women, it's like they're
They're out for blood. These women are really out for blood. They don't know what they want. They always think the grass is greener on the other side
Mhm.
because of estrogen. Estrogen is a crazy freaking hormone. And back in biblical times, the women went to the red tent. They're like, "You ladies are acting cray cray right now. You need to excuse yourself away from all the men before you do something stupid and f us our entire sweet little society up," right? So
Mhm.
they went to the red tent, and there are some books on it. Of course, the book The Red Tent, I believe, was written by a feminist, but there are extra biblical texts that talk about the Bible is riddled with female sin, just
Mhm.
riddled with it, and the women are just like, just ignore it. Let's not talk about that. There's a there's a book called the Book of Jasher, which is referenced in the Bible. Not all of the books that are worthwhile reading fit in the canon, but basically it says that Rachel, Jacob's second wife, she was harboring weird, creepy idols. And I'll entice you with that much. She was harboring idols to try and speak to demons so she could predict the future. Witchcraft is very much a female centric
Mhm.
craft, the dark magics. Whoa, that's another totally deep topic to go into sometime. Why are women more inclined to that? We have to go back into history. We live in a culture that doesn't want to look at history, a culture that has disdain for history. But once
Well,
you look
and
at history,
they rewrite it too, so it's like
exactly.
God only knows even what. It's so confusing. It's so it's like
Eh,
you'll get one you start to figure it out when you get older, but it's like, I mean, it's like you go to school and they teach you the wrong thing.
Women can't figure it out ourselves. We can't. We can't figure it out ourselves, and we need men to help us discern this stuff because we're gullible and we're naturally more receptive creatures. So we're like, oh, we'll receive even the devil. Sheesh, we're
Yeah.
so receptive, right? So we really need. Oh my gosh, we need men. Anyone who tells you that you don't need men, kick that to the curb. You and they'll get angry, and then they will humble themselves. Like you said, women certainly lack humility, but we don't have the power to discern theology, to discern history. And Joel and I love talking about gender dynamics and patriarchy and theology. We think theology is a big key to it. However, um, if you can't get on the gender dynamics topic, you won't be able to talk about anything else. Like we've got patriarchal Muslims, patriarchal Hindus. Patriarchy was the way of the world for all of history. So you don't have to have the right theology to practice proper gender dynamics.
Mhm.
It's entwined in nature. It's the law of nature. It's the law of hierarchy. It's the law of dominance. So until like men come to agreement on patriarchy, there will not be theological clarity either. That's like the first step. Um, and unfortunately, you see the battle we're up against. The simps are everywhere.
God,
Every day we're
everywhere.
at place. I've been trying to correct the
Gosh.
simp.
It's
He
like
thinks
they
he's going to
like
get laid.
they have the
You know,
minds of women. I'm like, gee,
They
but you
are. They
can,
are like women,
yeah,
and
because
we
I
face
can.
that in our own community. It's like Michael Knowles was like, "Not my church." not my marriage. Congratulations, Michael.
No,
Have a cookie.
I was so happy he was Catholic, because I'm like, you're not getting any of this shit past me, because I'm like, no, 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 no. I grew up with Catholics. I know the Latin Mass. No, no, no. I have cousins that, we didn't do Latin Mass, but I have cousins that did. No, 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 no. My cousins, they went to Latin Mass. One of the kids was in a throuple. You know what I mean? Like that, like weird shit. He went to like Oregon, did all this weird I'm like, no, 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 no. You guys are not exempt. You're not immune. It's not special. So, come on.
It's just about dominance. It's purely about dominance. And we could talk about Nala and all that nonsense before. Oh, but what I wanted to say is that the women are bloodthirsty. And I'll probably leave it at this. But the women are bloodthirsty. And that's why they're so enraged. They're so angry because, you know, I made this post on X, but basically, Steven Crowder, for example, sorry, I got distracted. Steven Crowder was like the scapegoat sacrifice for the feminist religion. Seasonally, the feminist religion requires a blood sacrifice. Steven Crowder was their guy. Russell Brand was their guy. Who's going to be the next blood
I have never been so disappointed in conservatives than Steven Crowder. I'm like, there is no way this guy is going to be. I've watched him for a decade. I'm like, no. I'm like, how are you guys this stupid? No.
Unfortunately, Steven is a little blue pilled. He's not based
totally.
in our opinion. He's not based enough in our opinion. And his wife was not a victim of feminism. She was a spy. She was an infiltrator. She knew dang well what she's doing. And so he was just another one of the sacrifice of the feminist religion. And make no mistake, men, as long as you don't control women, as long as you don't dominate them, they will continue to ruthlessly wreak havoc over men's lives, children's lives. They don't care. It's about female deification. And sorry to get kind of like biblical, but women are the female, because women have a seductive face, Satan has chosen them as his tool, you know, and because women are selfish, it's really kind of trippy. Sorry, I'm trying to articulate it, but basically like, it's Satan's work, but it manifests in a female form.
Yeah, it has to. Every evil. Yeah. That's what I kept coming to.
That's that androgynous.
Yeah, that's what I kept coming to. It wasn't even because I'm Catholic, but I'm not crazy. Like I'm not that Catholic, you know. And so I was like, how does it that every evil that happens, it's like passed through women? I was like, it just kept like the movie industry started sucking. Women took over that. I was like the all the policies women have passed the last 100 years. It wasn't even, it's like you come to these conclusions, it's not even a religious point of view. I'm like, evil, there has to be some sort of evil in women. There just has to.
I mean, it is religious because everything's religious.
Yeah.
Your religion cannot be biblical. You can have a different religion from the Bible, but it is a religious point of view. So like I said, feminism is a religion and patriarchy is it's just reality.
Right.
So it's just
no, but that's my point. That's my point is it's interesting because you can come to almost like religious conclusions just by looking at the world. Like that's the funny part.
It's like, almost like with our creator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, like once you take the red pill, babes, my darling Pearl, we love you so much. You know, the red pill is a lifelong prescription. You just have to keep taking it. And the more red pills, like it's like your medicine. You take the red pill and it's going to reveal more and more things to you throughout life that are uncomfortable. It never stops. You never stop taking the red pill, and it'll bring you down places you don't want to go, unfortunately. Uncomfortable roads. And unfortunately, women aren't willing to take that red pill. Whether it's gender dynamic red pill, whether it's a political red pill, whether it's historical red pill, whether it's a theological red pill. It makes you realize that the foundation of all your understanding was based on lies and you have to rebuild it. And a lot of people, they just don't want to bother. They just don't care. They're not in it for the truth. You know, they just want to move throughout life comfortably, personally benefit. They They want to fit in and they want to benefit personally. And so they will compromise on everything for that. And again, I really have to give my husband Joel a shout out. He's the father of our channel, Western Culture Through God's Eyes, and you can find him there because we talk about this stuff all the time. These are the level of conversations you should be having with your women, not like, "What'd you do today? You know,
Mm.
did you get some new diapers? Did you go shopping? Did you watch your favorite telenovela? Whatever." Like these are the conversations worth having, and just studying history and not ignoring the politically incorrect things that you're noticing, because that's what the enemy is relying on to you, for you to ignore it, for you to say, "Oh, that's probably nothing."
Right. Well, thank you so much for calling in. This has been a pleasure. I'm
It is a
really
pleasure.
I'm really excited to do our video. I think it's like in 2 or 3 weeks.